An ODOT employee discovered the remains in a sleeping bag along the tree line. More of his remains were discovered along I-75 near his apartment in Michigan.
Tomorrow will mark the 5-year anniversary of the gruesome murder of a Melvindale man. The woman accused of killing him is now one of the most wanted fugitives in the country.
This is the story of David Carter, a 39-year-old man who was brutally killed by his girlfriend, Tamera Williams. His remains were found dismembered with a sleeping bag found containing some of the missing body. He was in love with someone who turned out to be his worst nightmare. Hello and welcome to Twisted Crimes. Subscribe and hit the like button for more stories. David Carter grew up and lived in Melvindale, Michigan. He worked at the Magna seeding plant, which was likely a big part of his daily routine. Unfortunately, there isn't much information available about his childhood or education. But from what we do know, David was a family man who cared deeply about his loved ones. He was often seen cheering on his son DJ at football games, which shows he was a supportive and present father. David seemed to prioritize his family and was likely a regular face at local events and gatherings. Despite not knowing much about his early life, it's clear that David was a dedicated family man who enjoyed spending time with those closest to him. David Carter's son, DJ, was a teenager who was really close with his dad. They did a lot of stuff together and had a great bond. David and DJ's mom, Samia, broke up in 2014, but they stayed friends for the sake of their son. They wanted to make sure DJ was taken care of and had a stable life, even if they weren't together as a couple anymore. David and Samia put their differences aside to be good parents to DJ, and that's something to be respected. DJ was lucky to have a dad like David who was so involved in his life. David was a stand-up guy who always put his family and job first. He was a kind and caring person who was always there for those he loved. If you needed help or a listening ear, David was your man. David and Tamera went way back, meeting in high school. They reconnected years later and started dating in March 2018. It's clear they had a strong foundation of friendship before things turned romantic. David was a loyal and dependable partner, and Tamera was lucky to have him in her life. He was the kind of guy who would do anything for those he cared about. But fate had decided something else for him. David Carter and Tamera Williams started dating in March 2018, after reconnecting at a party. They had gone to the same high school, so they already had a connection. Tamera had a career in healthcare as a phlebotomist and also worked as a travel agent. She had kids of her own, too. As David's partner, Tamera was pretty involved in his family life. She was spotted at important events, like his son DJ's football games. She was making an effort to be part of David's family, at least in public. It seemed like they were building a life together, and Tamera was becoming a significant part of David's close-knit family. But something was happening in the shadows and no one knew it. David Carter's family and co-workers started to worry when he went missing in late September 2018. The last time anyone saw him was on September 28, 2018, at his son DJ's football game. He was there with his girlfriend, Tamera Williams, but people noticed they seemed to be having some issues. There was some tension between them, and it was pretty clear they were having a rough time. After that, David just vanished. His family and friends were left wondering what had happened to him. It was like he just disappeared into thin air. They started searching for him and trying to piece together what might have happened, but so far, there was no sign of David. David's disappearance first raised red flags when he didn't show up to work for 3 days straight after the football game. This was weird because David was always a reliable guy who showed up on time. He worked at the Magna seeding plant in Melvindale, Michigan, and his co-workers knew him as a guy who got the job done. So, when David didn't come to work for 3 days in a row, people started to wonder what was going on. He wasn't the type to just skip out on work without a word, so something must have been seriously wrong. His family and friends started to get worried, and that's when they realized that David was missing. David's sister, Tasia Carter Jackson, got worried when he didn't show up to work for a few days. She decided to check on him and see if he was okay. She and some other family members headed to his apartment to see what was going on. They were concerned because David wasn't the type to just disappear without a word. When they got to his place, they found out that he was gone, and no one knew where he was. This was the start of a big mystery that would leave everyone wondering what had happened to David. When David's family got to his apartment, they found the door wide open, which was weird because David was always super careful about locking up. Inside, things got even stranger. The bed was a mess, there were bloodstains on the mattress, and the whole place looked like a fight had gone down. It was clear that something was seriously off. David was a neat freak, so the unmade bed and messy apartment were big red flags. The bloodstains were the biggest worry, though. It looked like something bad had happened in there. David's family quickly told the police he was missing, and they started looking into it. The cops searched his apartment and found some pretty disturbing clues, a big blood stain and a bullet hole in his bed. It was clear that something violent had gone down in there. This was a major breakthrough in the case, and it made the police even more determined to find out what had happened to David. They were working hard to piece together the evidence and figure out who might have been involved. The investigation into David's disappearance took a dark and disturbing turn when his body was found, but not all at once. Parts of him were discovered along a highway in Ohio, and it was a gruesome sight. On October 1, 2018, a transportation worker found a sleeping bag with David's lower body inside.
United States Marshals have a suspect in the murder of 39-year-old David Carter. 39-year-old Tamera Williams has a felony warrant issued for her first-degree homicide, disinterring a dead body, and tampering with evidence. Carter of Melvindale, Michigan, had his remains initially discovered 10 miles south of Findlay on I-75 back on October 1st. An ODOT employee discovered the remains in a sleeping bag along the tree line. More of his remains were discovered along I-75 near his apartment in Michigan. U.S. Marshals stating in a release that Carter was Williams' boyfriend and the murder occurred about September 29th. They believe she fled Michigan in mid-October. Anyone with information is being asked to call the Marshals tip line at 313-234-5600.
The search for a missing man from Melvindale comes to a tragic end. David Carter seemingly vanished Sunday, but tonight his body has been found. 7 Action News reporter Allie Hoxie just talked to his family, joins us live from Melvindale with more. Allie?
Well, David Carter's father says that the police chief asked him to meet here at the Melvindale Police Department around 4:30 this afternoon, and when he got here, he got the heartbreaking news that his son is dead.
They told me that he was gone, and it got to me.
16-year-old David Carter Jr. says he and his father were like best friends. They used to go to the movies and go bowling together, something he'll never be able to do with his father again.
My father has always been there for me, like always, no matter what is going on. But for this to happen to him and not be with us today, or for the rest of our lives, it's gonna hurt us.
This afternoon, Melvindale police searched David Carter's apartment with the help of state police. We are told police were also at the apartment yesterday. We have yet to hear from investigators if this is a homicide investigation, but the Carter family says they have been in touch with police.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything because it's still an ongoing investigation.
Now a new reality is setting in for the Carter family, a life without David.
You see these things on TV, but you never think that it would ever happen to you, to your family. But unfortunately, it has touched mine.
We did reach out to...
It was cut up and dumped along a highway, and it was clear that something sinister had gone down. At first, they didn't have any direct evidence linking Tamera to the crime, but her shady behavior and proximity to David when he vanished made her a prime suspect. The investigation started to focus on her, and it was clear that she was hiding something. It was like the pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. Tamera took off, which only made her look more guilty in the eyes of the police and the public. It's like she had something to hide. If she was innocent, why wouldn't she stick around and cooperate with the investigation? Her decision to flee triggered a nationwide manhunt, and she's been on the run ever since.
Tomorrow will mark the 5-year anniversary of the gruesome murder of a Melvindale man. The woman accused of killing him is now one of the most wanted fugitives in the country. 7 Action News reporter Tiara Broddick spoke to the man's family tonight in a search for justice.
David Carter was last seen alive here at Harper Woods High School. He was attending a football game with his family. It's been 5 years since he was murdered. The woman suspected of killing him is his girlfriend, Tammy Williams. Police haven't been able to find her.
I just pray that, whoever is helping her turn her in.
David Carter's father, Elton Carter, says details of his son's murder came flooding back this week after he saw Tammy Williams' name in the news again. Williams recently made the U.S. Marshals top 15 most wanted list.
I'm glad to see that they haven't given up, because it's been a long time since anybody has said anything about, her whereabouts or anything.
Back in 2018, Carter lived at the Gale Garden Apartments in Melvindale. Police believe that Williams shot Carter at his apartment, then scattered his body parts along I-75 highway near Findlay, Ohio. Williams disappeared shortly after Carter's body was found. Carter's sister, Tasia Carter Jackson, says she can't believe Williams hasn't been found yet.
Melvindale, where the crime happened, it's a very small community, so and everybody know everybody, so it's like very, very shocking that it's been this long.
Jackson says it's been hard not having her brother around.
He was very kind. He was an amazing dad, a business owner, hard worker.
Police last tracked Williams to Brooklyn, New York, after they say she took a train from Ann Arbor. That was in 2019. Williams still hasn't been found or heard from since. The U.S. Marshals are now offering up to $25,000 for information leading up to her arrest. The Carter family hopes someone will come forward soon.
To me, there's no such thing as closure, but right now I just want justice for him.
It's like she's trying to avoid justice. The police are still searching for her, and they won't give up until they bring her in. Tamera's actions have only added fuel to the fire, and now everyone's convinced she's involved in David's murder. She's got some serious questions to answer, and the police are determined to get to the bottom of it. If Tamera Williams is caught, she faces serious charges. The 24th District Court issued a felony warrant against her on December 20, 2018, for first-degree homicide, disinterring a dead body, and tampering with evidence following the murder of David Carter. These charges stem from allegations that she dismembered Carter's body and disposed of the parts along Interstate 75 in Ohio. The severity of these charges reflects the gruesome nature of the crime and underscores the intense efforts by law enforcement to apprehend Williams. David Carter's family has been deeply affected by his tragic murder and the subsequent events. The grief and shock of losing David in such a brutal manner have been profound for them. The family, especially his son DJ and his sister Tasia Carter Jackson, have been actively seeking justice and have expressed a strong desire for the capture and prosecution of Tamera Williams, who is the main suspect in the case. No amount of punishment could ever bring back David Carter. He was a shining light to those who knew him. His life was a symbol of hope and inspiration. Even though he's gone, his impact is on, reminding us all of how precious life is and the tragic toll of violence. Our deepest condolences to the family of David Carter. May his soul continue to rest in peace.